I get asked all the time, hey, Joe, as a manual tester, how do I get into automation testing? Well, one way is learning scriptless automation solutions. So this clip is taken from a course I helped produce for the folks at Kobiton, featuring Shannon Lee, where she goes over how to start from scratch as a manual tester using their scriptless solution. For the full free course, make sure to check out the link in the comment down below. Check it out.
So previously, I showed you a manual session, and I showed you all the rich information available to you post-session. And so now I would like to show you scriptless automation in action. So using scriptless automation within Kobiton. So I'm going to navigate back to the Kobiton portal. I'm actually going to launch an iOS device. Let's launch this iPhone XS. I'm going to install a simple application onto this iPhone. And install it onto the device. So as a manual tester, I might not be familiar with automation. There is quite a knowledge gap, a knowledge bridge to cross when it comes to adopting automation, especially mobile test automation from a scripted perspective, which is why Scriptless is such a great resource for a manual tester to start dipping their toes into automation, to start moving from that career path from strictly manual testing to further start automating your testing and to really increase your productivity and being able to do just that without having to cross that huge knowledge barrier, knowledge bridge that comes with scripted automation. So with my testing, I want to ensure that I am adding to this to-do list and that this to-do list is populating what I'm adding to it. So I'm going to give it just as an example. I'm going to say, what is my to-do list for today? Let's do wake up, get out of bed, comb hair. I don't think many people will know the reference that I'm alluding to, but we'll keep, for those who know, you know. Just kidding. Ooh. Grab a cup of Joe, or just grab a cup. Okay, so I've added a list to be added to my to-do list. I am able to input into this text field. I'm seeing that each to-do is populating one right after the other. Each numerical is ascending 1 through 7. So as a manual tester, this looks good to me. I'm going to go ahead and exit this session. So when I exit this session, once again, brought to session details, session overview, session details, but what I want to focus on for this is going to be this automated test case tab. To start, this is what we call session snapshots. So this is a carousel of screenshots pertaining to the test steps that you performed. So each one is a test step where it highlights in purple the interaction performed on your application and just gives you a quick synopsis of that session via session snapshot. So each test step is viewable to you to ensure that, yes, that is my test step in order, or no, you know what, I forgot a test step, I actually need to redo this, or there is an extra test step that I don't want to perform via Scriptless. But for now, everything looks great. If there was a moment that Nova, our AI engine, is unable to correctly, or if there's any ambiguity to what you're interacting with, the element you're interacting with, Nova will ask you to help annotate that element and be able to ensure that what it is you're looking to interact with is exactly what Nova will interact with when you kick it off on additional devices pertaining to the technical identifier associated with that element. But I see all looks great now, so I can go ahead and navigate to run. So here we are brought to our test execution plan, where we have our test case that we created. Once again, session snapshots is just showcasing the test steps that were performed. And here we have Nova recommending devices for us to run our Scriptless on, but we also have the ability to create device bundles. And for that, I'm going to navigate to my device bundle that I've created, which has these private devices associated in that device bundle. And let's go ahead and run this automation on the XS Max and the 11 Pro Max. No, we'll do 11 Pro. And we'll hit run scriptless sessions. So just a quick recap, I ran a manual session as a manual tester, ensuring that my application is working as expected. And in that manual session, on that particular device, everything was working as expected. So I've exited that session. I am now able to execute that session on other devices without having to write a single line of code. And here is where we'll have in place the, so here in our test execution plan, we have a quick recap of what we call revisits. So any scriptless session run on another device, we call revisits. And the test execution plan gives you a quick recap of the revisits that are looking to get started on executing that manual session. At first, they'll be placed in a queue. So this is just to ensure that 1, devices are available, and 2, devices are ready to run your scriptless automation. Okay, as you can see, we are already having one of our revisiting on this iPhone XS Max. Kobiton's scriptless automation does run in real time, and it does run in parallel. So it just, once again, is dependent on the device availability and readying that device to run the revisit. As Scriptless is kicking off, we do offer what we call validations. And so if I navigate to the validation overview here, it tells me that my tests are being executed. So as they execute in real time, any visual testing that is to be flagged. So once again, that manual session was at baseline. I'm running 2 revisits on 2 additional devices. As they run, they'll be analyzed and compared against that first manual baseline session. Any differences between the 2 will be brought to my attention via validation overview. We have validations in the realm of functional testing when it comes to text and visual, as well as non-functional testing when it comes to performance and accessibility. For text and visual validation, so if there are any text differences, any text discrepancies, any visual discrepancies coming from different visual screen resolutions or different operating system versions, that will be brought to us in our text and visual validations. For our performance validation, so when we set up network payload on our devices, anytime the network behind tapping a button and navigating to the next page and all the network information in between, if any of that takes longer than a set baseline of 2 seconds, it will be flagged and brought to your attention in our performance validations to say, hey, you know what? This page actually took longer than 2 seconds to render and to load. There might be a performance issue at play. When we talk about accessibility validation, so we're talking about Kobiton is essentially a accessibility checker or accessibility tool. And this is guidelines coming straight from the W3C guidelines in the realms of touch target size. And as these are running, you can already see validations come in flight. So for accessibility, we have touch target size and color contrast taken straight from the playbook itself of W3C compliant guidelines to ensure that your application is accessible for all users. As that's running and completing, I do have a session that is complete where I would show you, and to show you specifically what these validations look like. So in this previous run, we have a few text validations in play as well as, but I mainly want to show you the visual validations. in the realms of layout and structure. So if I were to view this validation, so each validation coming from a non-judgmental testing where it's up to the user to say, resolve this or pass on it, that's actually not an issue at play. So with this visual validation, I'm seeing that on the iPhone Max, that my application is actually compressed. And so it is visually different than the baseline that was originally performed. If I were testing this manually and I didn't have an iPhone XS Max app available to me, I might have completely missed this visual issue at play here. So with Kobiton, we have what we call resolving validations. So you can resolve it by one, creating a Jira defect pertaining to this visual issue at play. You can accept this and submit it to let Nova know, yes, this is a visual issue at play here. We do accept this via that non-judgmental testing I talked about. We do accept this as a defect. We do accept this as an issue. Please keep a lookout for this for the next revisits that are run. If it was looking same as the baseline, there were no issues at play, we could simply ignore this, and Nova will ignore any further similar issues pertaining to this, as you said, ignore. But clearly this is a defect at play, so we'll accept this. You can change the scope of it as well. So you have your aspect ratio, whether the scope is from the manufacturer, from the device model, from different resolutions. And then if so, the aspect or pertaining to the scope, what it is that you are looking to ensure that you are testing with.